Hello YouTube, Salivate Metal here. We have just experienced the largest ransomware attack, malware attack ever in the history of the modern world. And this particular article talks about it here. This attack occurred on May the 12th, 2017, and security experts are scrambling to contain the fallout from the cyber attacks. And so we're going to read a little bit from this article here and talk about how it affects you, even if they're not a part of these major networks. Governments, companies, and security experts from China to the United Kingdom on Saturday raced to contain the fallout from an audacious cyber attack that spread quickly across the globe, raising fears that people would not be able to meet ransom demands before the data are destroyed. The global efforts come less than a day after the malicious software transmitted via email and stolen from the NSA exposed vulnerabilities in computer systems in almost 100 countries and one of the largest ransomware attacks on record. The cyber attacks took over computers, encrypted the information on them, and demanded a payment of $300 or more from users to unlock the devices. Some of the world's largest institutions and government agencies were affected, including the Russian Interior Ministry, FedEx in the United States, and Britain's National Health Service. As people fretted over whether to pay the digital ransom, and that's just it, it wasn't $300 in cash, it was $300 in Bitcoin, or 300 Bitcoin. Let's see here, and more than 1 million worldwide before the deadline ran out to unlock the machines. A coordinated attack was first reported in the UK and spread globally. It has set off fears that the effects of the continuing threat will be felt for months, if not years. It also raised questions about the intentions of the hackers. Did they carry out the attack for more financial gain or for other unknown reasons? Ransomware attacks occur all the time, but what makes this difference is the size and boldness of the attack, said Robert Pritchard, a cybersecurity expert for the Royal United Services Institute, a think tank in London. Despite people's best effort, this vulnerability still exists and people will look to exploit it. And, I'll stop right there because this is something that a lot of people think, well, this is some type of thing that would never happen. There's too much infrastructure in place and security and the like to stop something this widespread. While most cyber attacks are inherently global, the current one, experts say, is more virulent than most. Security firms said the attacks had spread to all corners of the globe, with Russia hit the worst, followed by Ukraine, India, and Taiwan, said Kaspersky Lab, a Russian cybersecurity firm. The attack is believed to be the first in which a cyber weapon developed by the NSA has been used by cyber criminals against computer users around the globe. So it begs the question: how did it get taken from the NSA? There's a lot of questions here that will arise from this. And the article goes on to talk about how it attacked the British National Health Service, 45% of the hospitals, and there's no idea who is behind the attack. FedEx got hit as well, and this is a part of the digital attack. Had included a way of disabling the malware in case they wanted to shut down their activities. To do so, the assailants would included code in the ransomware that would stop it from spreading if the virus sent to an online request to a website created by the attacker. So there was a chance that it could attack themselves because it was so widespread. Very interesting. And this has important ramifications for those of us in the precious metals world. And I'll explain that here in a bit, but let's see, look at this animated map that tells all the places hit by this ransomware attack. Wow, and you can see it growing through time here. Very fascinating. All corners of the world, including China. And then we see here how it's growing, infecting all different places, even down into parts of Africa, South America, a little bit in Australia, but not a whole lot in Canada, amazingly enough. But nonetheless, quite interesting indeed. This is what it looks like if it hits, and they want $300 worth of Bitcoin to be sent to this address. And here's why I think maybe in part ways it was contained, in my view. I think the reason why it was contained or maybe stopped is maybe not so much, and I think in part and parcel, it's due to the diligence of antivirus software companies and Microsoft and the like, who apparently had released a patch against this back in March. But this is why I think it was stopped, because Bitcoin started to really lose value overnight. We were watching it on a live feed that I had, and I had somebody in there who actually works in IT and tracks these types of things, and we see here that the price started to really come down here, and so I think when they saw that, and people who were paying that ransom noticed that the price for Bitcoin was going down, means the $300 worth of Bitcoin was was starting to lose value, and there was a real fear that that it could have tanked, and there was talk that maybe one of the exchanges, Coinbase, may have crashed or come close to crashing or been attacked in some way, and so that was some serious ramifications with Bitcoin there as the world's premier cryptocurrency. And now we are starting to see it creep back up here, but even now it's starting to take a slight dip again before it's rebounding here. So we'll see what happens next few days. The interesting thing about this whole ordeal is that when you think of people's money and their investment, you have stocks, you have bonds, you have everything that occurs in U.S. or other official fiat currencies that at least backed by governments, unless the governments themselves topple or there's some great economic hardship that causes the dollar or whatever currency to completely crash. Essentially, that's still good. Bitcoin is not protected by any of that or any kind of governmental policies or anything of the sort to save it. So if it goes down, it goes down, and it could just as very well. So even though itself was not attacked, things related to cybersecurity and anything related to any threat to a network that is the SHTF scenario in the digital currency world, especially the cryptocurrency world, because there's some insurance or assurance that if a bank gets hacked and all of your bank accounts are wiped out to zero, that FDIC or some other insurance or some way, there's always some way to there's a better chance anyway that money can be recovered, at least for now. I'm not saying in the future, and I also am not saying for those that are into Bitcoin or dabbling with it that it's completely. I'm not saying that it's a complete waste of time, because obviously people are making money on this, but it's a very risky adventure. I think several comments in my past video about Bitcoin, I think have the right attitude, especially those of us that are stackers and accumulators of the precious metals, is that the Bitcoin, put some money in it, $40, $50, $100, or whatever, see what happens, prepare for the worst, and be surprised if it does well. And a lot of people are being surprised that it's done so well, and that's great. Honestly, it might be a good time to sell if you can, or exchange it out for cash, because if something like last night happens or continues to occur, then you're going to see the faith and confidence in all cryptocurrencies go down. And not to mention, you've got others that are right behind Bitcoin that are starting to gain favor. Litecoin, Ethereum, or I forget how you pronounce that, is a relatively new one. And there's over 800 of these cryptocurrencies are actively traded today. And but nonetheless, there's a fundamental truth that will transcend all eras and epochs of time, and that is gold and silver cannot be hacked, and they cannot go to zero. They are steadfast. And as for me, again, I have no problem with people or issues with anybody investing in other assets or currencies, but be aware of what could happen. And this is one of those cases that it could have been a lot worse than it was. especially with Bitcoin, watching it last night go down. And, you know, it was at $1,800, and now it's just under $1,700. So it's lost over $100 in the last 2 days here. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this video. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to y'all for watching and encourage you to please rate, comment, and subscribe.